can be here right now, be very clear, is solar panels on the roof charging your vehicle for free overnight. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Not if you've got, not if, the great benefit here is that if you, what does the future look like?
So unfortunately the future doesn't look like that. And that's what you get when you don't know what you're talking about. Solar doesn't work at night, unfortunately. It'd be good if it did. It'd be good if you charge your car at night too, but unfortunately no. The way to use your solar power at night is through a home battery, and that's what I want to talk about today. Beautiful. So what's a home battery? Basically a storage system to deliver power to your house. So the solar generates power during the day, the battery's there to store that power and then allow you to utilise it when there's not enough solar power to run your house. It also provides backup power when the grid's down. So that's one of the key features and functions, and particularly with all the volatility in the grid over the last couple of years, we're seeing a lot more people who are very interested in having backup power when the grid goes out. Okay, so how do batteries complement solar? It's a little bit hard to tell here, but this is a customer of mine who we put a battery in about 2 years ago. This little brown dot here is grid consumption, and there's actually no grid consumption. The battery, the green is the battery, which is 100% charged, and that orange sort of one is the PV or the solar, and that's feeding, so that's the excess power. So this customer over the last 2 years has used about 2% of his total power has come from the grid, 98% has come from the solar and batteries, which is pretty exciting. So you're able to use more of your solar power that you've generated, stabilising the consumption of the solar power. So obviously, as the sun goes up and down, clouds come in and out, all of those sorts of things, the solar works, better or worse. So the battery allows you to stabilise that and fill in the gaps whenever there's a requirement, and allows you to use your solar power to provide power at night. Okay, so understanding backup supply. This is pretty important and something that's worth talking about. We'd like to think that when the grid goes out, we can just keep everything on, keep the air conditioners on, keep the heating on, whatever else you've got going on. Then it's a spa, all sorts of things. Unfortunately, when the power goes out and you've got a battery system, it is a limited supply. So it's one of the conversations I have with all of my battery customers is don't expect that you can just have the grid go out and keep doing everything you want to do. You've got to start to then look at, well, what's the most important thing? It's an interesting conversation when you're talking to customers. They either want the fridge or the tally. So you sort of start to get to know what type of person you're dealing with. If they're lucky, they get to have both. So when the grid drops out, what happens is that it automatically kicks across to the battery. And there's two ways to do that. One is through a full home backup, where we just take out the bigger supply things like maybe a hot water unit or some ducted air cons, those sorts of things, and the rest of the house is fully backed up. If we do it that way, there's a risk that you can overload the circuits and it will shut down. But it is a viable and good way to do that. And that particular board there is actually a full backup board. The other way to do it is to back up key circuits. So, we might say, okay, we're going to have a main power circuit, which is either got the fridge or your TV, and then your lighting circuits, which make sure you can walk around the house without hitting any walls and other things. So it gives you a fail-safe, but it is a limited supply, but it's virtually automatic. Like it's literally milliseconds from when the grid goes out to when it cuts across to the backup power. When the grid is connected, the battery's still working and delivering power to the house, and as it normally would, up to its maximum capacity. When the grid drops out, that's when the backup system kicks in. Okay, so the main benefits of solar, obviously utilising more of your solar energy. Backup backup supply when the grid is down, and there's a higher rebate for batteries. A few different photos there, different types of systems. You can see the one on the left, we actually planted that hedge about 8 years ago just to protect the battery, so it was good forethought by us. That's a joke. And a couple other systems. Generally, we like to install inside a garage because you're out of the weather and away from all the elements. Unfortunately, the one up the top, we didn't have much choice. I spent more time pruning and getting access into there than anything else. Okay, so the rebates and the costs. So at the moment, the Victorian solar rebate is the only rebate available for batteries. There's no federal rebate. That is currently $3,500 until the first 5,000 rebates are taken up, and then it'll go down to around $1,750. There were some announcements last night, which may change that, but yeah, I think there's still around about 2,500 rebates available at the 3,500 mark, so it's not a bad time. So if you're adding a battery to an existing solar system, you'd expect to pay somewhere between $7,500 to $17,000, depending on the quality and the size of the battery that you're going to put in. And so to give you an example, if we did a 6.6 kilowatt solar system with the 10 kilowatt hour battery, after the Vic Solar rebate and the federal government's what we call STC discount, you're looking at about $13,500 is the investment for that type of system. And that should cover most homes. So, generally homes use around 20 to 25 kilowatt hours a day. A system like that would cover you for about 90% of your power consumption. So the key question is, are batteries worthwhile? I have this conversation a lot because people ring up and say, I want a battery. So great. The return on investment for a battery and solar system is around 7 years. A battery on its own, so if you've already got solar and you put a battery system in, it's about 11 years. For that, most of the time the battery warranty is a 10-year warranty, but that's to work at or above 80% of its original charging capacity at the 10-year mark. So your battery's not worthless at the end of 10 years, but it is depleted down to 80% of its original value. So from a return on investment point of view, it's not the most exciting thing to look at. And really, when I'm talking to my customers, I'm talking to them about why they want to have a battery. If it's just for a return on investment, you're better off to put a bigger solar system in. If it's to use more of your own solar power because you want to use more green power, you want to be more green and energy efficient, that's a great reason to do it. And the main one that people are really excited about is when you're at home, you've got the TV on, you've got your lights on, and your neighbours are all standing outside with their flashlights wondering what's going on. And that's probably worth 17 grand right there. That's it, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Specialist, last week first.
So going back to the original video, if I had a solar system and a battery and an electric car,
yeah.
Can I argue then that I'm charging my electric car overnight with solar power?
So again, it's a question that's been coming hard and fast lately. The problem with EVs is that they're a large battery, right? So a normal, typical home battery is around 10 kilowatt hours. An EV is around 60 to 140. So if you put a home battery in to charge your car when you got home from work, you'd need, probably 3 of those, so around 30 kilowatt hours of batteries. You'd need a big solar system to do all of that. So it's not really viable. The thing that will become viable is that at some point, the cars will actually become your home battery. So you'll plug your car in when you get home from the office, where you've charged it, hopefully for free from your employer, and discharge it into your house as a
When you talked about the backup systems for particular circuits in a house, is there some design considerations around the electrical plant starter job to make sure that you're most efficient in those backups?
Not so much. I mean, these days houses are pretty efficient. Like the old days, you'd have problems with too much load on the lighting circuits. We're actually consolidating a lot of lighting circuits these days because there's just no power draw. so that you do get all the lights in the house working. Other than that, if you want things like hot water, then obviously go for something like a heat pump because it can actually run on the backup system through the solar and that sort of thing as well.
When the power goes out and say you've got the lighting circuits and your TV on it, how long does the average house get on a battery during a blackout?
So if it's at night, it depends where the charge is on the battery. But typically you're talking about a minimum 4 to 6 hours of backup power. Keeping in mind that there's a lot of systems now that will start to recharge through the solar during the day. So if it's an extended rolling blackout, you can feasibly stay off grid for quite a long time.
Great. Guys, any more questions, please? We'll go on to level 7. Thanks very much.